Hi, my name is Alex Applebaum. I'm a product management engineer with F5 Networks, and today we're going to demonstrate building a ScaleN cluster. In this first video, we'll start by taking two devices and quickly clustering them together to form a traditional HA pair. And we'll assume that they all have their base networks configured, including license and host name and self IPs and VLANs, etc., either via running through the initial setup utility, automation, or even manually. Before we get started, we should go to Ask F5 to check for any best practices, for example, this solution right here. And assuming we've gone through all that, we're ready to go configure the devices. So we have two standalone devices, as you can see. Standalone, standalone. And first, we should go check to make sure that they have NTB configured. That's always important. There we go. All right, that looks good. And next, the device service cluster has this concept of a device object, which they use to represent each of the devices in the cluster. And as you can see here, they both have the same default device name. So we'll want to go ahead and make sure those are unique. Click on that and change their name. Technically, they can be named anything, but by best practice or convention, we'll go ahead and use the host name. And now that they have their own unique host name, each of the devices, the device objects, we can go ahead and launch the HA wizards. So here we'll go click up the F5 ball and run the HA setup utility wizard. We're going to need to run this on each of the devices. And if we've configured according to our best practices, we should just be able to accept a lot of the defaults here. And in this particular example, we're using virtual editions, which have the default internal, external, and HA VLANs. And you'll see it using the HA VLANs quite frequently, the dedicated HA VLANs. Now that each of the device objects have all their connection entries, connection endpoints configured, we can go ahead and log on to one of the devices and use that as a seed to form the cluster. So we'll discover our peer device. And that was all that information was set up over here when we ran that independently. And we'll use the management port of our peer. Oh, it's right there. Use our admin password. Now this will go and retrieve all that information we just configured over here with the wizard. And we can see that our peer's device name is BigIP2. And it's prompting us to configure the name of our sync failover group. When you upgrade from 10x, it goes ahead and auto-generates a sync failover name, device group name. But this gives us an opportunity to create our own name if we'd like. Does not matter, but just because we can, we will. And this is exchanging information between the two devices right now. As we can see here, this device just went into standby. Now we can go to our device management section, go to overview. We'll probably want to sync it. So we'll click our device failover group, and then the device we're on as seed, and we can sync this device's configuration over to its peer. And there we go. The devices are now in sync. This seed device is standby and its peer device is active. Now if we want to fail over this device over back to the seed device, we can go to our traffic groups. And this is the traffic groups are the collection of IPs that fail over between one device and the other. We can take these collection of IPs and send them over to the standby, where it's peer, big IP 1. And now this big IP 2 is standby and big IP 1 is active. And we've just quickly created a device service cluster of 2, or the equivalent of a traditional HA pair. That concludes our first video. Thank you very much for joining.